Hi, welcome to Still Curious with Gary Green. I'm your host, Gary Green. If it's your first time here, I'd like to welcome you. If you've been here before, welcome back. Thank you for joining me. My channel is not about any one specific niche, but I've got a variety of things I'm going to be sharing over the coming weeks. One of the things that I do, if you don't know me yet, is I do genealogy research, family history research, which requires going back into old newspapers. And when I get in those old newspapers, reading about stories about my family or ancestors or this sort of thing, I usually start reading the newspaper. It's interesting reading old newspaper stories. But I discovered one in the Fall River Daily Evening News, November 1914. So this is real breaking news. The headline was, "Squirrel in Accident." You heard that correct, squirrel in accident. I'm not going to read the whole article to you, but it starts out with one of the pretty tame squirrels, which has lived on the North Park all summer, was found badly injured on the park highway. If you stop and think about it, this is 1914. Automobile hasn't been around that long. And here a park ranger, parkman, finds a squirrel that's injured in the park, apparently clipped by an automobile. Now this is not front page news, but it is reported in the news on page 6. So it's quite humorous, but it's quite touching as I proceed to tell you what's in the news and what just exactly happened to the squirrel. He was apparently, the newspaper reports, that he had part of his tail sliced off and had a broken leg. But the story gets amazing when the park ranger, Charles Cosgrove was his name, finds the squirrel injured, picks him up, and carefully carries him. Not to a veterinarian, but he carries him to the local fire department. It gets more amazing. The firemen treat the squirrel. They treat his injuries. They give him water and nurse him back to health. But again, picture, there's no veterinarians, obviously, from the reporting. But picture the firemen sitting around the firehouse, and here comes a park ranger with a squirrel with a broken leg. So firefighters in 1914 were just as compassionate as they are today in treating people or animals. Can't you imagine one guy wrapping the leg and the other guy, giving this poor squirrel some water and, they're, "Stay with us, buddy." Apparently they didn't get a fire alarm while they were treating the squirrel. I think that might have been reported in the news if they had to be interrupted with their tending to the injured squirrel from the park. And the story actually ends with the squirrel will return to his tree with a good chance of life. That's how the story ends. A good chance of life. The squirrel was one of the strongest, toughest animals in Massachusetts in 1914. Broken tail, partial tail loss, survived the early automobiles, and was expected to be back at work in the tree by Monday morning. I wonder if they named the little guy. Since I saw Teddy Roosevelt in the news recently, and we know he was a tough president, outdoorsman, this sort of thing, so maybe they called him in 1914, around Teddy's era. Maybe they called him Teddy after Teddy Roosevelt. The Teddy Roosevelt of squirrels. This is short and brief. It was breaking news in 1914, and because of my curiosity and research that I do in some areas, I come across these. I've got other ones to share with you, how journalism was treated and what was filled in the newspapers behind the headlines, and not just world at war, political scandals, political leaders. There were human interest stories. I've got some more of those to share with you, and I've got some serious ones. It's, again, very interesting as I do my research in one area to come across interesting articles like this, and I hope to share that with you coming in the future videos. So, somewhere in an old newspaper, thousands of forgotten stories are waiting, and it looks like Still Curious with Gary Green is looking to bring those stories alive and back to the present to share for your enjoyment. Humor, touching, part of history. Thank you for joining me. I hope to see you again in the next one.